In this video, the Historic Ordnance series, I have a mine that I have been wanting to do for a while. I was talking to a friend about it a few months ago, and he actually got a hold of a really good training aid for me to use for this video and sent it to me as a belated Christmas present. So what I have here is a formerly Soviet, more commonly could be referred to as a Russian, OZM-72 bounding fragmentation mine. Now, these entered service with the Soviet Army in 1972, and the reason for that, the previous mines in the series, the OZM-3 and OZM-4, for some reason were considered failures by the Soviet military. Unbeknownst to me till I started researching this, apparently the OZM-3 and OZM-4 had a lot of problems with hang fires. Problems with, once the fuse went off, the propelling charge inside here or in those mines, it would slow burn or not start burning when it was supposed to. So the mine was those two mines were unpredictable. So the Soviets spent a while coming up with a better system, they figured. And they decided to also upgrade the power of the mine, and they came out with this version, the OZM-72. Now, this mine is referred to in the Russian military as the witch or the evil witch. Some countries also refer to it as the frog or the toad because it is a bounding fragmentation mine. The reason they call it the witch is because of the sound it makes getting ejected out of the ground before it detonates. Soviet troops in Afghanistan said it sounded like a witch cackling or howling through the air as she's flying by. Now, this mine has been used in or is in service with a lot of different countries. And I actually found two different lists on this, and both the lists were different. It has been used in Afghanistan, Angola, Cambodia, Cuba, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Namibia, Nicaragua, Sudan, Tajikistan, Vietnam, Yemen, Zambia, Russia, Ukraine, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bulgaria, Algeria, Georgia, Libya, Malawi, and Syria. So this is an extremely common mine that if you are a sapper or an engineer, you're going to come across these sooner or later. Doesn't matter what country you go to, these will turn up. Now, some of the technicals on this, it is 6 3/4 inches in height. That is the body without the fuse. Diameter is 4 1/4 inches. Weight is 11 pounds, of which around 1.5 pounds is the explosive filler. The explosive filler is cast TNT. There is a tetral booster which is located around the detonator well in the center of the mine here. That is to set off the cast TNT because TNT is very stable when it's the type used in mines because it's military grade. And it takes a little bit more of a force to set it off. So especially with the Soviet mines, you usually seen tetral used as that booster to get it going. The propelling charge on this mine, just like with other bounding fragmentation mines, is black powder because that does not have sufficient strength to set off the TNT. Now, the body on this is made out of steel. The shrapnel inside is small metal cylinders. It actually uses the exact same shrapnel as the Mon 50 directional mine or the Mon 50 Claymore. Those cylinders are held in place with cast plastic. They put the shrapnel inside a form, pour the plastic in around it, and that becomes the shrapnel sleeve for inside this mine. Temperature range for usage on this is -76 degrees Fahrenheit to a max of 140 degrees Fahrenheit. The primary reason for that temp range is actually not the explosive, it's the fuse that's used. Depending on the type of fuse, depends how cold it can be or how hot it will be. Now, the detonator that is used with this is a number 8A blasting cap. I have a simulated example here. On one end it's open, the other end is closed. The fuses that are used with this are primarily the MUV series fuses, but it can also employ the VPF fuse. Because of the thread patterns on it, you can use a MUV1 fuse or a straight MUV fuse. This is a standard Russian landmine and booby trap fuse going back to World War II. You can use the improved MUV2 and MUV3 fuses. Difference between the MUV2 and the MUV3. The MUV2 has a T-shaped combat pin. The MUV3 has kind of a P-shaped combat pin, similar to what you see here. The MUV3 fuse also has an additional safety collar which goes through the combat pin to hold it onto the fuse body so it doesn't accidentally fall out. It can also use the MUV4 fuse, which one example came with it. This is obviously a replica. This fuse is similar to the MUV2 and the MUV3. Major difference is this is a hydraulic fuse. The MUV2 and MUV3 fuses have a similar arming method as the PMN mine, where you have a wire that cuts its way through a little lead block. Once it's all the way through the block, the firing pin is now free and resting on the combat pin. With the MUV4, it's hydraulic. Once you remove the safety pin, the fluid moves from the top reservoir to the bottom reservoir, freeing the striker to rest on the combat pin. Reportedly, this fuse has a lot better, more reliable performance in extremely cold temperatures compared to the MUV2 and the MUV3, because the colder the temp, the longer it takes to cut through the lead block. These mines are packed 6 mines to a crate. And then also in the crate on either side of the mines, you have the support equipment. Each mine requires or has 4 wooden stakes, 2 angled metal stakes, so basically like angle iron, but they're made out of aluminum, and at the top, each wing of the stake has an eyelet drilled through it. Each mine also comes with 2 spools of tripwire, which are 15 meters in length. There's also what's referred to as a double cable. This is a single cable that's about 1 meter in length and has 2 hooks on it. 2 of those hooks are on the end, meant for hooking into the tripwire. And that third hook, which is in the center, is what is attached to the combat pin on the mine. Most sappers reportedly do not use the double cable. They use just straight tripwire. They consider it superfluous, not needed. Now, some of the mines do come with fuses and detonators packaged with the mines. Not all of them do. When a fuse does come with the mines, it's typically a MUV2 is what is inside the crate. Now you'll see right here in this picture there's a little Bakelite container. This is usually located on the right or the left hand side of the mines. That is the case for carrying the blasting caps, the number 8A detonators. They could be inside this, or more often than not they're packaged separately in their own little box because they're just a standard blasting cap. So what you would do, you would pull the number of blasting caps you need out of that small box, open up this container, put those blasting caps inside the foam inside the container and seal it up to transport them with the mines. Now, installation on this is really simple. And I do have different firing devices and fuses to show you for setting this up. But first thing you're going to do, regardless of how this is going to be set off, you're going to go through, inspect an inventory. You're going to inspect the mine, make sure it's in good condition, it's in usable condition. There's no signs of water getting inside here, because that will mess up the black powder inside the mine, turning it into a giant block of garbage that will not burn. You will also check your central detonator well here. You want to make sure there's nothing inside there. If there is, do not poke anything in there to try to get it out. All you're going to do is push that foreign material farther in. Just take it, tap the back of the mine with it facing down to try to dislodge the material. You also want to check the connector for the firing device. Make sure the primer is there and it is live. I've been told that this one is not, but I'm not about to find out. You'll then put shipping cap back on there, and if it'll cooperate this time, you will put the shipping plug back in the detonator well, screwing it down. You will check your blasting cap, your number 8A detonator, check the inside of it, make sure there is no foreign material. If there is foreign material, you're not going to smack the blasting cap. That'd be very bad. You're going to lose at least one hand. So what you do, put it between two fingers, meaty part of the palm, meaty part of the palm, smack to try to dislodge the material. You'll go through, check your fuse, make sure you have your safety pin and you have your combat pin, and the fuse looks usable, it's not damaged. You're going to check the inside of it, same thing, no foreign materials. Everything passes inspection. You're going to pack it up and transport it to the location where the mine's going to be emplaced. This mine is rather heavy, so the sappers say don't carry them inside your pack, carry them inside a crate. When you get to the emplacement site, you're going to pick the location where the mine's going to go at. You're going to dig a hole. The hole's going to be a little bit wider than the mine. And you want the depth to be at least to the top of the mine here, maybe to the top of the cap in the shipping cap that goes to the detonator well, because you want a maximum of 1 inch of any cover material over the top of the mine. Doesn't matter if it's dirt or brush. If it's snow, usually they say a max of like 6 inches, as long as it's not packed snow. If the ground is soft, in the very bottom of the hole, before you put the mine in, you're going to put a rock, you're going to put a brick, you're going to put a piece of wood, whatever you have available to be a solid, stable base. And you want the mine to go straight in the hole, not at an angle. You're not trying to launch it over a hill. You're trying to launch it straight up into the air. Now, the hole is prepped. It says in the instructions in the Russian manuals, put the mine inside the hole. Then pack dirt around the outside, and you're going to pack the dirt in using one of the ends of the wooden stake to tamp the dirt in around this to keep it stable. Once that is done, in the instructions it says to remove shipping plug from the detonator well, take your number 8A detonator, put it into the detonator well, open and down. You just slide it in there. Then you're going to take the plug here, screw it all the way down, snug it up a little bit so that the gasket will seal up to prevent moisture from getting inside. According to the instructions, at this point is when you're going to put out the stakes. Now, this is the way it was in the Soviet manuals, and reportedly that's not the way they're being used in Ukraine. But according to the manual, you're going to go out to one end. Roughly, you're going to go about half a meter in front of the mine. And you're going to put in one of those angled stakes, the open end facing towards the mine. You're going to move a max of 15 meters out. And you're going to put in one wooden stake, and then halfway point, another wooden stake. You're going to tie off tripwire on here, nice and solid. There's supposed to be a channel on the top of the stakes. Run the tripwire through that. Back to the center stake. Bring the excess through to tie into your double cable. Repeat for the other side. Once you have that done, you're going to attach on the double cable. You're going to tie the two ends of it, the hooks. You're going to tie on a tripwire to them. Then you got that hook in the center, which will attach to the mine. It says you want a maximum of 2 to 3 centimeters, so about 1 inch of play or slack up and down on these tripwires so you don't accidentally set the fuse off. Now, once the tripwire is in place, according to the instructions, that is when you're going to remove the shipping cap from the fuse stud or fuse well, and you're going to screw on your MOV series fuse. Now, you want the combat pin in the direction of your tripwire. Reportedly on the MOV4 here, it will rotate even after it's snugged in. With the MOV2 and MOV3 fuses, you're going to have to make sure that the fuse is facing the correct direction and hopefully snug down onto here. If you got a little bit of play, probably put a little bit of grease around the bottom where the fuse and the top of the mine meet to keep moisture out of it. But once we got the fuse on, at this point, you go through, and it's highly recommended you remove the safety collar that goes through the combat pin here. So you'll just open up one leg of it and then slip it out from the inside of the combat pin without pulling out the combat pin. With that safety collar on there, it dramatically increases the amount of pull force required to remove the combat pin. How much? Well, the MOV2 fuse only takes 4 pounds of pull pressure to remove the pin from the fuse. The MOV3, when it has that extra safety collar on there, takes 13 pounds of pull to remove it from the fuse. So you run the risk that you might accidentally break the tripwire and not set the fuse off. So Russian sappers recommend remove that safety collar without removing the combat pin. So once we got the tripwire tied into here, that's when we're going to go through. We're going to camouflage this as best we can. We're then going to take the pull ring here for the safety pin, and we're going to pull it out of the fuse to start the arming time. Now on the MOV2 and MOV3 fuses, it takes anywhere from 3 minutes to 59 hours to arm those fuses. The colder the temp, the longer it will go. If it's, higher temperatures, you're in 70s, 80s, 90s, above 100, it's only going to take a few minutes. If it's well below 0, it's going to take more than a day. The MOV4 fuse, because of the hydraulic action that's inside here and the material they used for that fluid, that takes only around 4.5 minutes to arm the mine. And I came across something where Ukrainian sappers have said when they're emplacing these mines behind Russian lines or in no man's land, if a Russian patrol approaches, they will emplace the mine, camouflage it. They will pull out the combat pin with collar and then pull the safety pin. It won't go off at that point until the end of the 4.5 minutes. So about the time that the Russian patrol will be near that mine, that's when the fluid's going to make it all the way through. That striker is going to be released, and since there's no combat pin, it's just going to go straight through, setting off the mine. Now, officially, according to doctrine, when these mines are emplaced in tripwire mode or tripwire activated mode, the Russian military says they cannot be removed. They must be destroyed in place. But as we have seen in videos from the Ukrainian military and the Russian military, what they do, they come across these mines. They will take a length of wire, slip it through the loop on the combat pin here, bend that wire going to the back, and then they'll twist it on the back a few times, say 2 or 3 times, to secure the combat pin. Then they will go through and cut the tripwire. So removal on this, when it is in tripwire activated mode, the procedure that I have put together here. First off, you're going to locate where the mine is. Once you locate where the mine is generally located, you're going to check around it for pressure activated mines, like your PMNs. You don't locate any of those, then you will focus on this mine. You will safe that combat pin. Once you have safed the combat pin using that bit of wire, you're going to follow the tripwire out to both ends, make sure there are no booby traps or anything attached to the tripwires. You confirm that on both ends of the tripwire. You're going to come back to the mine and you're going to clip or untie, more than likely clip, the tripwire from the combat pin. At this point, you're going to uncover the top of the mine. You're then going to stabilize it with on hand, and you're going to dig down to the bottom of the mine and check underneath. Reportedly, these mines are typically emplaced in the ground with a booby trap device, typically an MS3 pressure release device. It looks like the PMN mine in order to trick the sapper during removal process. If you find some type of pressure release device or any type of anti-handling device on the mine, stop what you're doing, destroy it in place. If you do not locate anything underneath, you're going to backfill the dirt on the one side, and then you're going to do the same to the other side, stabilizing the mine. Make sure there's nothing on this side also. Once it's all the way clear, you're going to remove the mine from the hole, set it to the side of the hole. You're then very carefully going to unscrew the fuse. And you will set that to the side. If you had the shipping cap, you're going to screw that on. To protect that primer so you don't set the mine off. At this point, you're going to remove the shipping plug from the detonator well. A common thing that the Russians and Ukrainians are both doing, they're removing this piece here. So all you're going to have is this piece down here, in which case you're going to have to put a piece of stiff wire or something in here and slowly wrench it off. But you will remove the shipping plug. Take your mine, tilt it to the side, Drop out the detonator into your hand, set that to the side, and then you're going to put the shipping cap back on, or the shipping plug back in the detonator well. Then you turn everything into the mine dump for either destruction or reuse. Now I do have one additional way to set this off. My buddy also got a hold of this for me. These mines can be set off as command detonated. So basically, you're putting in an ambush or a defensive line, you put these out in front, and you want them to go off when you want them to. Similar to a string of claymores. So the procedure on that is you go through, you put them in the hole, you put the detonator inside. Same as tripwire activated. Then you're going to remove the shipping cap. You're going to take your NM initiator. You're going to remove shipping plug. You're then going to screw this on to the stud where the firing device goes. You will then uncoil these wires going back, tie them off to a stake. And then you are going to attach a firing wire to these coils. Run that firing wire back to your firing point. At your firing point is where you would attach your firing device, your blast machine. But before you'd leave the mine, you're going to go through, camouflage it, and camouflage the wire. Now, when removing one of these mines in command detonation, and this is the only way to remove these according to the Russian military. First, locate the mine, follow the wires back to its point of initiation. If it is an MV-72 booby trap device, you're going to stop, go back to the mine, place a charge on it, and blow it up. If it's set for command detonation using a blast machine, you will follow the firing wires going all the way back to the firing point. Make sure there's no enemy soldiers there. That actually says that in a manual. And then at that point, you will disconnect the blast machine or the power source from the end of the firing wire. You are then going to shunt the wires, screw the two ends together, move back forward to the connection with the firing wire to this, disconnect them, shunt them, which means twist them together, then roll this wire back up to the NM initiator, unscrew it from the top of the mine, reinstall the shipping plug in the bottom of the initiator. Set that to the side. Take the shipping cap, put it back over the primer to protect it. Then you're going to go through, check the mine for anti-handling devices and booby trap devices. Same thing as in the other method of initiation. If you come across any type of booby trap on this or anti-handling device, just blow it up in place. And then you got this stuff that you can at least reuse. So, do have a note to mention here. This was noted by Russian sappers. In an emergency, if you do not have the correct fuse for these, you can use an MD5M threaded detonator that has the same threads as this shipping plug here. And that will have sufficient strength in it to set off the tetrol booster and the cast TNT main body. So then whatever type of pressure fuse you have available that an MD5M detonator can screw onto, you can attach that to the top of the mine here, turning this into pressure activated. But it's still going to be, make sure you don't have too much material over the top where it will interfere with the ejection of the mine from the ground. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but the height for detonation on this mine is approximately 1 meter above the ground. So just like with other Soviet bounding fragmentation mines, this thing's designed to go off at your crotch and shred anything around it. Reportedly, from information coming out of Ukraine, if you're within 5 meters of one of these going off, they're not going to find too much of you left. They'll probably find, say, the upper part of your torso that they can put in a box and put in the ground, but everything from waist level down is going to be non-existent. So there you go. The Russian OZM-72 bounding fragmentation mine. This is one you do need to be able to recognize, and you need to know at least some basics on, because this one is extremely common around the world. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember essayons.